Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Carter. Several years ago, I was the consumer loans auditor for Mountain America Credit Union. You may have heard of a scandal about Wells Fargo Bank where their branch employees were pressured to upsell their services, and they opened accounts in their customers' names without them knowing it. What Mountain America did when I worked there was much worse. To understand what was going on, you kind of need to understand the context, what was happening. Back then, Mountain America was not doing well financially. They had been put on an NCUA watch list. The NCUA is the federal agency that insures your deposits. They are basically the credit union version of the FDIC. Also, the Utah Bankers Association was lobbying the legislature for a law that would limit who could join a credit union. They argued that these large credit unions bore no resemblance to the small, not-for-profit cooperatives that they started out being, and that they competed unfairly because they didn't have to pay taxes. So Mountain America was motivated to bring people through the front door and get them signed up as members because they would be grandfathered in if this law passed. So Mountain America dropped its rates on its consumer loans. We were way below everybody else, both banks and credit unions. And of course, they launched a huge advertising campaign to advertise these low rates. So rates on, auto loans, boat, RV, truck loans. And it did exactly what Mountain America intended it to do, which is bring people through the front door and get them signed up as members. The flip side of that, though, the downside of doing that was that their profit margins were very low. We had a meeting where the CFO expressed concern that we immediately loaned out all of the money that we had and were borrowing money from the Federal Reserve to then relend to consumers to buy cars, the members, and the interest rate that we were borrowing the money, paying on the money to the Federal Reserve, was only slightly less than what we were earning with our very low rates, and so the profit margin was very low. But Mountain America had another way of making money, and that was what I would call an insurance scam. They were selling obscenely overpriced life and disability insurance on the loans with a company called CUNA Mutual. And the way it worked was people came in for a loan, and the loan officer would quote the price of the policy to them, if they quoted it at all, and I'll get to that in just a minute. If they quoted it at all, they would quote the policy to them in cents per $100 per month. So it didn't sound like it was a lot of money, but it really was. It was an obscenely overpriced insurance. If you think about it, if you went and got a $25,000 car loan, how much would it take for you to increase your life insurance by $25,000 of coverage? Almost nothing. And what made it even worse is that the amount of money that's being insured, the size of the policy, goes down every time you make a payment on your car. So if you get a $15,000 car loan and finance it for 3 years, at the end of the year, that's a $10,000 policy, and then at the end of the second year it's a $5,000 policy. And as you get towards the end of paying off your car, you're almost insured for very, very little, almost nothing. Yet you continue to pay these giant premiums. And so it was a scam. It was a deception. And it made Mountain America millions. And one of the things that makes it worse is that Mountain America is a credit union. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay taxes because they are supposedly a not-for-profit cooperative. And they claim to be this altruistic, always looking out for the best interest of their members. And that just wasn't true, especially when I was there. They deceived people. They tricked them into this terribly overpriced insurance scam, and they made a fortune off of it. And people don't expect to go into the credit union and have something like that happen. And then as I conducted audits on this practice, because it was my job to actually pay what they called the incentive, which is just a polite way of saying a kickback to the loan officers who were the top producers selling this insurance, found out that some loan officers were simply adding the insurance to people's loans without them even knowing it. It was just a simple matter of checking a box. And what really bothered me is it seemed to me that they were targeting the most vulnerable people who were the least likely to whip out a financial calculator and say, wait a minute, $25,000 over 60 months at this interest rate, the payment should be this. Why is it more? Almost nobody did that, and especially the people they targeted would not do that. And so they had this insurance that they didn't even know they had. And not everybody, there were some people, when I worked there, I was a peon. I had no power to change anything. I pointed it out to my bosses. I tried to point out that this was not ethical. It was not right, especially for a credit union. There were some people who tried to do the right thing. There was a vice president there. His name is Brett Von Osdell. He, as I understand it now, he's now the CEO of Utah Community Credit Union. He spoke out against it. He tried to get him to change it. He pointed out that it was not right for a credit union. He pointed out that the loan officers who were getting these huge checks every month would become dependent on them. And so they couldn't not sell the insurance. They couldn't, if it got close to them not meeting a threshold to not getting the check that they now depended on, that they would be highly motivated to just add it to people's loans without them even knowing it. And so he tried to do the right thing, but Mountain America, again, was making a very slim margin on their loans. We were, in the business vernacular, cutting everyone's throats on the rates, on our consumer loans rates. We were way lower than everybody else, and we had loaned out all our capital, so the margins were low, and they wanted to get people through the front door and signed up. And so this was the way that they partially made up the difference in the money that they needed was to run this insurance scam. I know a lot of you were thinking, man, did this happen to me? If you got your loan at the Centerville, Utah branch, you most likely did not have this happen to you, because the branch manager of that branch refused to take part in it on ethical reasons. And she didn't allow her loan officers to sell this insurance either. If you got your loan at the West Valley branch on 4700 South, just west of 215, you most likely were a victim of this scam, because that was sort of the center, the hotbed of this unethical behavior. I especially it especially bothered me. It seemed to me as I dove deeper into this, the top producing loan officers for this insurance scam seemed to target like blue collar workers and young people and older folks and people who were just the least likely to catch on. It reminds me of an old Irish folk song that says, "Oh dear me, the world is ill divided. Them's that works the hardest are the least provided." The people who most needed Mountain America Credit Union to look out for their best interest, that needed a financial partner that they could trust not to take advantage of them, that's exactly who they took advantage of the most. If you got your loan at another branch, it was potluck, whether or not you were a victim of this insurance scam or not. A few years ago, the management at Mountain America changed, and I went to them. I had long since quit over this issue. I went to them and I suggested that they give the money back. I let them know what had happened and asked that they just give the money. I didn't want anything for myself. I just asked that they give the money back to the people that they stole it from. And rather than do that, they circled the wagons. They sicked their attorney and their risk management person on me and tried to intimidate me into just being quiet. That was several years ago. Since then, I have attempted to go to a couple of local reporters, but Mountain America spends a fortune on advertising at the same media outlets that employ these reporters. So you can guess how that went. This is me trying to do the right thing. I think that Mountain America, instead of the Mountain America Expo Center and the Mountain America Center for the Performing Arts, and a giant new headquarters with giant arcade video games for the employees, instead of doing that, I think that their excess profits would be better spent returning the money to the good hardworking people that they stole it from. Anyway, this is my video, and I would ask that if you see it, share it with anyone that you can. Thank you.